Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching Blair and Company. My name is Joshua Blair, and this is the Black Kings Project. Today, I have the amazing Mr. Malcolm Lemmons. He is an author, he's an entrepreneur, he's a former athlete. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Josh. It's good to be here.
No problem, no problem. So today we're just going to be diving into just a little bit about who you are, what you're about, what got you to do what you're doing so far, and then what makes you a Black King.
Okay, for sure. I'm ready.
Okay, so just introduce yourself for people who don't know who you are.
Got you. So, Malcolm Lemmons, I'm a former professional athlete turned entrepreneur and author, originally from Washington, D.C., and grew up like, most kids in the inner city wanting to pursue a professional athletic career. So I chased that throughout high school, college, and was fortunate enough to have, the opportunity to go overseas and play for a couple of years and, retired from the game when I was 25. Felt it was in my best interest to figure out who I was outside of basketball and kind of reshape my identity. So been going through that process for the past couple of years and just enjoying the journey of being an entrepreneur and kind of figuring life out.
Okay. So who introduced you to basketball, and what was the first time you saw basketball? When did you know that you wanted to play? Like, just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, basketball is probably the third sport that I played. I really grew up playing soccer and football, and I wanted
Mm,
to play in the NFL more than anything else. But I think basketball really came in the picture for me because it was a sport that you could do by yourself. And I think that going through some of the negative things that I experienced as a child in
hmm
the inner city, my mom being a single parent and trying to keep me and my brother busy, she really just put us in as many sports as possible. And I gravitated towards basketball because, like I said, it was something you could do by yourself. And the more I played, the more passionate, I became about the sport. But originally, it was just something that I did to keep my mind, off of the things that I was going through. So it was escapism. But I grew a genuine love for it and saw it as something that I could do long term and potentially provide for my family.
Okay. So what position did you play?
I was a shooting guard. Originally, I was a forward in high school and in college. I transitioned to be more of a guard, and I was a guard when I was a pro.
Okay. So so tell me about just from you playing in high school and then playing in college. How was those transitional years for you?
Yeah, so actually, I look back on my high school career, and it was some of the best years I ever had playing basketball. But I almost gave it all up my sophomore year because I was cut from the team, and that was kind of like a really pivotal moment for me personally because,
hmm
it was my first like roadblock and kind of that level of adversity that you either continue chasing your dream or you fold. And my mom gave me some really inspiring and words of encouragement that allowed me to continue pursuing that dream. And so, I played in one of the most competitive high school leagues in the country in the Washington D.C. area, called the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference, and played
hmm
with a lot of guys who went to go play in Division One, a lot of guys who are currently playing in the NBA. So it was really highly competitive, and even going on to play, Division One in college, and the level of competition that I faced, and even just the guys that I play with, a lot of those guys are still my friends to this day. And it was just basketball to me and sports in general kind of provides you a brotherhood and relationships that last forever. So I really cherish the memories that I've had throughout high school and college and really wouldn't trade those experiences for the world.
Okay, that's definitely, and I'm glad that you spoke on that because a lot of people, like when they're playing sports, I feel like a lot of people feel like they're always going to be accepted. They're not going to make any mistakes. There's not going to be any roadblocks. But I'm glad that you spoke on that because a lot of people, when they hit a roadblock, they just give up and they just don't stick with it. But I'm glad that you had people in your corner like your mom that was telling you that you can keep doing it, keep pushing, keep working, and that humbles you. And I feel like a lot of people don't get that opportunity, or they don't have those people in their circle just to keep pushing them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the bottom line is that if anything you're trying to pursue in life, and especially something as ambitious as becoming a professional athlete, in my case, that's going to come with its fair share of adversities, obstacles, setbacks. And so it's really about how resilient and persistent and how badly you want to achieve your dream or your goal. And I think that's actually some of the most, you look back on your life and you see like those experiences really kind of build your character and make you who you are. So it's really kind of relishing in those moments and welcoming adversity because it's a part of every process.
Yes, most definitely. I definitely agree. So you played overseas, didn't you? Or did you play overseas? So,
I did.
okay, so what was that experience like, just being in a different country?
Um, Definitely had its ups and downs. I mean, I was really blessed enough to be able to get paid to do something that I love and got
Mm-hmm.
to see the world in the process. But it's not as glamorous as people think it is.
Mm-hmm.
My first year over there, the week I got over there, I didn't have any Wi-Fi. I didn't have a bed. We didn't have AC in the house. We had to walk to practice. We weren't getting paid. So we went through all these different obstacles, coming from America and just being in a different culture and not really knowing how to adjust. And those are just some of the challenges that you face, as an overseas athlete. But like I said, you have an opportunity of a lifetime that most people don't get to experience, and living in another country and
Mm-hmm.
getting paid to do something that you would do for free. And so I think that's um, kind of the most appealing part of it. But it definitely came with its fair share of challenges throughout my couple years playing over in Japan.
Okay. So yes, and I feel like a lot of people don't give a lot of the people that play overseas credit, because I feel like a lot of it's always that stigma of like, well, you didn't make it in the NBA, so you're playing overseas. But I feel like a lot of the best players come from overseas or go
Yeah.
getting sent to overseas, and I feel like I always didn't like that stigma. So.
Yeah, it slowly changed over the years. I think, with the exposure of international players coming over here and you know, us being able to see how competitive it is and kind of
Mm-hmm.
just technology allowing us to see, these guys overseas can play, they can ball. And there's a lot of guys who are good enough and capable of playing in the NBA, but for one reason or another, they're overseas. So it's definitely you can make a really good living over there. You get to see the world, NBA career is not for everybody, but overseas careers is definitely viable for a lot of players, and they have really sustainable lives over there.
Yes, I definitely agree. So once you turned 25, you decided to step away from basketball. What made you want to do that, make that decision?
So my second year playing over in Japan, like I had came in the middle of the season. We had about a month-long break where we were just practicing. We didn't have any games, and so being new to the team and not really knowing my teammates, not knowing the city, I had a lot of time on my hands. And once again, I didn't have Wi-Fi my first couple weeks out there. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there, got a computer in front of me, and I'm thinking to myself, how did I get to this point in my life? What experiences did I go through to become a professional athlete? I really just started to write, man. I started to write because I had the time on my hands, and it became therapeutic for me. It became sort of like me just reflecting on my life. And the more that I wrote, the more that I saw how inspiring my story was, and I was sharing this with other people. And through the conversations I had no aspirations of becoming an author, but people kept telling me like, "Hey, your story can really impact other athletes," and I felt like I was doing an injustice, not sharing my story with other athletes. So that's how I really decided to write my first book, and that was really the beginning of my transition. Because before that, I never had any idea, like most athletes, never had any idea what I wanted to do outside of basketball. And it was just, a process where I had to kind of figure it out. And um, once I published that book, it really opened up a lot of opportunities and a lot of doors to do other things, and really kind of helped me reshape who I was outside of the jersey, so to speak.
Okay, and so and the book you're talking about is Beyond the Game, correct?
Lessons from the game, my
Oh,
first book.
Lessons from
Yep.
the Game. Okay, okay.
Mhm.
So what message were you trying to convey through that book?
Man, it was really, kind of like my story through basketball, but the bigger message and the I guess the impetus of the book was to show that there's so many things that you learn in sports that can be applied to life. And that's why I called it Lessons from the Game, because there's so many lessons that I took away from basketball throughout the years that I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to use in other areas of life, such as like patience and set goal setting and being organized and time management and teamwork, all these different intangibles that you gain as an athlete. And it was really showing athletes like, hey, you've been through these things, you've gone through similar situations, and it's provided you these traits. But how do you carry this over into life after sports? How do you use everything
Hmm.
that you learned to do other things? And that's what I wanted to show athletes with this book.
I definitely agree with you because I feel like once you make that transition out, like out of sports, I feel like it's all a lot of athletes start to struggle with that and they turn to like just different like negative situations, like turning to drugs, turning to drinking. So I feel like that's a really good outlet for you to just let people know like there's things you could do after sports. You don't have to just be sitting there twiddling on your thumbs. Like there's a whole world outside of sports that we can tap into. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, we see athletes all the time struggle with the transition, and it's extremely hard to do something for 20 plus years of your life, and then it's automatically just one day it's taken away from you, and you have to figure it out. So, I'm all about imploring athletes to understand that your career doesn't last forever, and to really use this time and leverage this opportunity that you have as an athlete to figure out what your other passions and interests are. So when that day comes, you're more prepared.
Okay, so how did you were you expecting the book to be as big as it was, or what was your response to people receiving it?
Honestly, I got some really, really positive feedback, and I had no expectations going into it. Like I said, I never had any, aspirations or never imagined that I would be an author. It was just something that kind of happened, but I fell in love with the process of writing, and I think that with books, they last forever, and you
Hmm.
can, your story is so important, and to be able to communicate that with the world, I think is, and to be vulnerable enough to do that, I think is really, really critical and important. So I had no expectations going into it, but I still get people hitting me up today asking me for copies. So I think it did pretty well for my first one.
That's good. So also, so you're working on a new book, or you already just released a new book. Is that correct?
Yeah, just published my second book about a month and a half ago.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that book, and that book is Beyond the Game, correct?
Yep, impact beyond the game. So,
Okay.
really, the impetus of that book was to get athletes to understand that their brands, their reputation, is so important. And going back to that window of influence that they have, with social media, athletes' reach and their awareness has been amplified. And so, when they put out a tweet or they post a picture on Instagram, so many people are consuming that. How are you
Hmm.
articulating your story? How are you communicating with the world? What messages are you putting out there? How are you getting people to see who you are besides the athlete that they see on the court or on the field? And so I really wanted athletes to utilize specific tactics and strategies that I put in this book, and really kind of maximize that value that they have, leverage their platform and their influence more effectively so that they can have more opportunities, whether that's endorsement deals, sponsorships, any kind of partnerships, or they start their own business or to get a job, like whatever the case may be, whatever they want to do, your brand is going to play a part in that. So I wanted athletes to understand this and take advantage of it to the fullest ability. And that's really kind of why I wanted to put this next book out into the world.
And I definitely agree with that. I've definitely because I feel like we're living in a time where branding and your image plays a big part of who you are, especially, and that can transcend not just in sports, just in anything you got going on. So I basically, it's like your selling point is your image and how you market yourself. So I definitely agree, like that is a big part, and I'm glad that you released that because a lot of people um don't know how to work social media for their advantage. And I feel like that's a great tool, especially when you're trying to build a brand and you're trying to build a following. So I definitely agree with that.
Absolutely, and the feedback that I've gotten, from a lot of people is that it's applicable across the board. No matter
Hmm.
what profession you're in, we all need to learn how to use social media and the internet because it's where the world is today. So if you
Hmm.
want opportunities, if you want to pursue, different career paths or whatever you want to do in life, the internet and social media, more specifically, is going to play a part on that if you want some type of success. So it is really important, and we all have brands, but it's all about who's controlling that narrative. And you really want to be in the driver's seat when it comes to your story and how you communicate that to the world.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. So when did you decide that you wanted to transition from being an athlete to an entrepreneur? So when did you want to go into that space?
So growing up, I always had entrepreneurial tendencies. I knew that I would do something business wise once I was done playing. I just didn't know what. But I was that kid, selling candy and water in middle school and
Mm-hmm.
high school. I flipped shoes and sold T-shirts. So besides basketball, I was always this kind of hustler, and I
Mm-hmm.
always had that with me throughout my years. So I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I started various businesses throughout the years. Some have been successful, some have not. But I think that when it comes to being an entrepreneur, a business person, it's all about the journey and the process and understanding that pivoting and going back to adversity and failure. That's a big
Mm-hmm.
part of it. It's understanding that this is a game that you play in perpetuity, and it's not something that is for everybody. But I've had this self awareness to understand that this is something that I want to do the rest of my life, and really just go all in when it comes to business and building things from the ground up.
Yes, and I definitely agree. And I feel like at least I feel like because my dad, he's a professor and he teaches business. And I feel like everybody should at least have take should take at least a business class.
Mm.
Because I feel like like if you take that class, you'll know just the I want to say just the mindset of how the world works when it comes to business, just how to start a business, how to just have that entrepreneur mindset. And so I feel like I feel like everybody should take a class regarding that, because I feel like everybody has that. We're always pushed to go to college, but I feel like it's like there's so much more out there, especially in the business world and just people trying to be entrepreneurs. So I feel like everybody should take at least one business class and just see just how business works and how we barter or how we communicate as let's say like as a global world, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we live in the most capitalistic country in this world, and
Mm-hmm.
everything is, very transactional. So I think understanding how to sell, how to market, how to, branding, like all these different facets of business are incorporated in our daily lives, whether we realize it or not. So it's absolutely imperative that we have some type of understanding of how this world, this country works, and and
Yeah.
and what some of the foundational aspects of what business is.
Yes, most definitely. So one of the businesses that I know that I saw that you have is so it's Clarity Sports Group.
Mhm.
Okay, so when did you decide that you wanted to start that up? And for people who don't know that what that is, it's a management, it's PR, it's just marketing different athletes. Is that correct?
Yeah, so basically, we focus on helping athletes procure sponsorships, endorsement opportunities, and partnering them with brands that align with their values for
Mm-hmm.
the most part. And I've actually, like I said, I've gone through different iterations of businesses over the years, and this is
Mm-hmm.
something that I've done or helped athletes with, for the past couple of years, but I want to kind of formalize it. And it really kind of came off the back of this next book. Been in contact with a lot of athletes since the release, and that's something that I noticed that a lot of athletes need help with, because sometimes their agents aren't really taking care of those opportunities, or
Mm-hmm.
don't really know how to navigate that landscape. So I wanted to come in and really kind of show athletes how to attract these other opportunities and how they can build their brand and formulate these relationships for their careers going forward.
Okay, that's really cool. So where do you see it going? Like, so when did you start it? Mind me asking.
So we just launched about a month ago.
Oh, okay, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
So where do you see it going moving forward within the next year or so? What's your goal for it?
Honestly, it would be great to, keep it really boutique and small, and
Mhm.
I want to cater to athletes who are underrepresented and aren't getting the attention that they might deserve, and maybe just have maybe like 5 to 10 athletes we work with very closely, and really try to find viable opportunities for them so that they can be better prepared on and off the playing field. And that's kind of how I foresee the company being long term. Very boutique, very small, tight knit, and serving athletes to the best of our abilities and really kind of living the values that I've set for the company.
And I definitely feel like that's probably like the best way to have it, because normally, because each individual athlete or influencer, as I saw on your Instagram, they want to have that one-on-one, just that one-on-one attention for their biz or for their image or for their brand. So I feel like it's good because, like big corporations that have all of these different clients and everybody's doing their own thing, and it's just like it gets jumbled after a while. So I feel like that's a good idea, just to keep it real small and keep it like real boutique, just for everybody to have that one-on-one attention so they could do their very best in what they're trying to do market wise and image wise.
Right, absolutely. I mean, you see that with bigger agencies, how some athletes can kind of get swept under the rug and don't really
Hmm.
get the attention that they might need. So I don't want us being aside from a traditional sports agency. I don't want these athletes to feel like they're not catered to and they're not given the attention that they deserve to help them advance in their careers.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. And then also the other business venture I saw is Clarity Watches, and I low key want to get a watch from you.
Oh, please
So
do. I would appreciate it.
no problem. So what made you want to go into that business?
Yeah, man. I mean, being in the house, almost 24/7 with COVID, your mind starts to turn and, seeing really just, my passion for watches. I was actually on a podcast earlier and somebody asked me the same thing. What made me want to start this company? And it really goes back to, my mom buying me my first watch and growing up, really just having a love for watches. If you see me, any picture or like me speaking or on a panel or anything like that, I always have a watch with me, and it's just a genuine love for timepieces. And with everything that's been going on this year as far as police brutality and social injustice,
Hmm.
I wanted to make an impact and have a brand that kind of made a difference and impact on the community. And so really combining that passion for watches and a purpose to make a difference where I see fit in the world. I came up with Clarity Watches, and I really define it as a social impact company disguised as a watch brand, because we partnered with Color of Change, which is an organization out in Oakland that they come up with campaigns and initiatives to fight police brutality and social
Hmm.
injustice. So we donate a portion of each watch to this nonprofit. And so the mission is much bigger than just being a watch company. We're a company that is trying to affect change in this country and really combat some of the injustices that we as African Americans have been facing for 400 years. So, it's something that, idea just came to me. And,
Hmm.
like I said, being in the house, it's something I acted on and see this as something that I really want to grow out and scale long term and think we can make a really big difference in the world.
I think that's amazing. I definitely want to get one. So after this call, we're gonna chop it up because I want to get a watch from you. And anyway, if I can help, I definitely want to just spread more awareness to it, because I feel like that's a good message that you're trying to spin. Just people getting the watch and then knowing that the proceeds are going to a good cause. I feel like that's something I definitely want to get behind for.
Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate that.
No problem, no problem. So also, since you slid into the topic, so what has been your just your opinion on just everything that's going on in the world regarding police brutality and just social injustice?
I mean, obviously, being an African American male in this country is extremely frustrating. But
Hmm.
I take a step back and realize this is something that my parents went through and my grandparents went through, and it's
Hmm.
nothing new, and we'll probably continue to see it. But the best thing that we can do at this point in time is to continue to start to bring awareness and to start the dialogue and have these tough
Hmm.
conversations with our white counterparts, because we do need allies. And it's really great to see the amount of people who have utilize their platforms, as we talk about athletes and celebrities, influencers. The truth is that we're not asking them to moonlight as politicians. We're not asking them to, come up with laws and to change the world like that. But we do
Hmm.
need these people because they are the culture to bring awareness and to talk about these injustices. So it's been inspiring to see the amount of people who have utilized their platforms for good and the brands who have come out and either donated to social injustice organizations or just to the cause as a whole. So, like I said, it's extremely frustrating, but I've continued to educate myself, stay in the know of what's going on, and really just have these very, very difficult conversations, with my family, my friends, my white counterparts, and trying to make the world a better place together, because that's the only way we're going to get out of this and progress and to move on and move forward. So.
Yes, and I definitely agree. And that's part of the reason why I want to start up this platform, because I feel like we've always been talked about in a negative connotation. And I just felt like there's so many African American men and women that are doing great things. And I just feel like our stories are getting swept under the rug. And I just feel like every time you turn on the news, it's something negative. And so that's why I want to start up this platform, just to showcase people like us that are doing good things, that are then making that's making an impact, and then wants to see change. So I definitely agree on that.
Absolutely. That's definitely needed. It's definitely needed. And, and like you said, there's so much negativity out in the world. And the more that we can kind of bring positivity to the things that we're doing, that we're building as a community and really uplifting each other, I think is really inspiring, and it's needed in the world. So continue to do your thing, man. I'm in full support.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So what makes you, so this kind of segue into this question. So what considers you a Black king?
Oh man, the people who came before me. I give
Mm,
all the credit in the world to, my mother, my grandparents who never even graduated middle school, but for
mm-hmm.
them to, kind of go through what they went through, and my mother being a single parent and grow, raising my brother and I in DC and having a struggle. They give me power. They inspire me to do, bigger and better things with my life, to, continue on the legacy, and to give back to the next generation and the generation after that. So, the people who paved the way for me to, be able to be in the position that I am, to pursue a professional athletic career and to become an entrepreneur, and those who have supported my dreams, it's all due to them, and kind of the road that they paved for me to be successful today.
Yes, I definitely agree on that. That was perfectly well spoken. I definitely agree. And so where can we find you on social media for people who want to follow you, who want to see what you have going on, who wants to buy a watch like myself? Where can we find you?
So you can find me on social media at Malcolm Lemmons. I'm on every single social media platform there is, and I'm pretty responsive. So, hit me up, or you can shoot me an email at info@malcolmlemmons.com. And the watch company is called Clarity Watches, and you can catch that at claritywatches.com. And the book is Impact Beyond the Game, and that's available on Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble. And so I would appreciate any support, feedback, anything like that. Really appreciate it.
Well, most definitely, we got your back. So I definitely want to thank you for coming on my show today on Blair and Company. I really appreciate it. Everybody go follow him. Everybody go support him. Everything that's he's working on is very important. I really appreciate you taking your time out of the day just to speak with me and just be able to just to shed a little bit of what you have going on and what your life was about. So thank you so much.
Anytime, Josh. The pleasure was mine, man.
No problem. Thank you so much. And this is Joshua Blair with Blair and Company, and we'll talk to you later. Okay.